What's up, guys? So welcome to another episode of Coffee and Real Estate. I think I want to get this number right. Are we on 13?
We're on 13.
All
we
right.
said 13 last time.
Yeah.
It felt like 13 because it was about twice as long.
That's right. So it was 12 and 12 and a half.
And 12 and a half.
Now we're really on 13.
13 officially.
Yes. And today we have a special guest today. So Jenny Castillo is joining us today. She is one of our top agents at White Picket Realty. And so Jenny, welcome to the show. And we're going to go ahead and talk about, because Jenny's been in the business for about 8 years. Is that right?
It's going to be 9 years.
9 years?
December 11th.
Okay. Perfect. And so one of the things that's interesting is that Jenny just completed a couple of transactions that are really interesting. There was an investment transaction. And so it is one of those things where we pride ourselves in knowing what to do. Isn't that right, Cesar?
That's right. And I think what's important here is we've seen this culmination of the ladies taking over in real estate, not just on the retail side, but on the wholesale investment side. And Jenny's one of those ladies coming in and just being super powerful all around, and doing wholesale deals. And not only that, finding deals on the MLS. That's like the end all be all. Everyone says there's no more deals on the MLS. And we have a killer here who just seems to always find a way to find a deal off of the MLS.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the last opportunity that you found, and you walk us through where you found it and how you were able to sell it off to somebody else.
Okay, so first, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's an honor. I appreciate it. So I started with just looking on MLS in areas that I know are profitable. People are wanting to buy houses that are not really not houses, but communities, neighborhoods that they don't have a lot of inventory for sale.
Okay.
And one thing is that as wholesaling, I stopped going to the off market because everybody is doing that. Everybody is passing those properties around. It's a small industry in the investment world, and like you're right, it's not a lot of women in the investment side. There's a lot of women realtors on the retail side, but not on the investment side. And people are scared to offer low ball deals, and I always say, like I tell my kids at home, those mouths won't get fed. You don't ask, you don't tell. So I go to an area where I'm familiar with, that I know the houses, the price range. If you're so familiar with an area like farming, like a traditional real estate.
Just like a regular real estate agent, part of your job as a realtor is to know what values are in a specific neighborhood. So you use that knowledge, and so you know exactly. What was the name of the neighborhood that?
This last one was in Meyerland.
Meyerland. So you know exactly what Meyerland homes are selling for, top dollar, right? You know exactly what that is. So when you see something, you're like, hey, there might be an opportunity there, right? Okay.
And so I go and I do a search where I have the buy box for each investor, because not every investor has the same end goal.
Right.
And so, for example, I have another partner. They bring in the investors, and I said, oh, I'll find properties deals. And I went on MLS. There was this property, the last one, it was listed at $450.
Okay.
Originally, it was at $500. Then it was reduced to $450.
So you saw the price reductions happening. Now, it was already listed at $450, but you know that in Meyerland, houses in that size go for what?
$700 and up.
So automatically you spotted something different.
I said, okay, this is, I look at the way the property looks, the kitchen. Oh, this is an old, outdated kitchen. This is an investment property. I look at those little details, floors, like, the way it's taken care of.
Right, it still has shag carpet from the 1970s, that green tile, right?
That green, this last one had green carpet, and then it had all kinds of different rooms, like from the 70s. It was a mid-century, it was pretty cool house. The day I leave, and I comped it at $680. It appraised at $695.
$695. So a bonus to the buyer.
Yes, the buyer purchased it at $410.
So okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So you found it, and it was listed at when you found
$450.
$450, and
recently reduced from $500.
And that's, you found an opportunity. You said, okay, I'm going to go after it. And so, what was your first initial offer to do it?
$375.
$375.
$375.
So again, go back to saying, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
You don't ask, you don't get, so don't be afraid. So you already went in there. What was the response? Did you get yelled at? Because that's what I think. That's what some people are.
People are afraid of like coming off as like the listing agent getting upset, being thought of as being a low baller. That's not fair. But I think what people don't realize sometimes is, you know the numbers, the area, like you said. And at the end of the day, you know what's really a fair price for the condition it's in, and it's not overstated. You have no emotional attachment to it. So that price is what's going to make it work. And at the end of the day, either they're going to accept it because they need the money, or they're going to wait and maybe eventually reduce it. But it's worth a shot, because if they're not getting anything else, something is always better than nothing, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I always say, you know what? If they say, what's the worst they can do is say no, go fly kite.
Yeah. And that's it. You move on.
And this one, they countered off. They declined it. And then I said, oh, well, it's open to counter offering. It came back. I believe it was like 420, and I just went in there like, look, this property needs this, and that. It's not gonna move. Long story short, we came to an agreement. I'll tell you that price.
Yeah, you can tell me, sure. Yeah.
We came to an agreement of $390.
$390. Okay.
$390.
Perfect. So you have it under contract at $390. Now this is going to be a wholesale transaction. So okay, you have it under contract at $390. What's the next step after that? Now you got to find.
Now we got to find the end buyer.
The end buyer. Okay. And what was that process? And
that process was very seamless, because here at White Picket, we have an email blast. We have a team that as soon as you get a property, there's equity in it, there's a positive return on investment. Hey, let's blast it out. Let's see who comes. I also do partnerships with other agents.
Okay.
A whole other agent from another brokerage. She actually brought the end buyer, and we agreed to a fee, and she was happy with it. We closed on time. Buyer was happy because his appraisal came in. Like, wow, like instant equity.
Yeah. So he came in higher than what you had expected. And what was his price?
His price?
Yes.
$410.
$410. Okay, so there's right there is what you call the fee, and that's one of the advantages of wholesaling, is that you can get under contract and you make the spread of what you actually sell the home. Then the buyer really doesn't matter, because he's so happy that he's still got a deal. The agents involved are getting a little bit more than what they normally could, and that's the key in wholesaling. I know that you've been involved in a couple of wholesale
deals.
We
did all the work, the discounting, the negotiations, everything. So it's like, here you go, served on the platter. Like, it's easy. Already I'm working on the property now.
Yeah.
Can't wait to finish.
And I know you're an investor, so like, what is one of the hardest things in finding properties right now?
I'd say the hardest thing is like just finding a deal that makes sense. Right. And it depends on, she said something called the buy box, which means what are you looking for? Right. Obviously, if an investor is looking to buy a property to hold it as a rental, they're going to be willing to pay a little more for it, because they don't have to renovate it as much to be able to resell it. So, you're competing with that. I prefer doing what we call flipping. And in doing that, you got to put more work into it, especially in this market. So you need to be able to buy it at a lower price point, just in case. They say your money is made on the buy side. And I think right now the struggle has been finding things that are priced low enough to make it worth going after, without having to go out as far as I've had to go out to get deals going.
Right. So I mean, there's value in there when investors and wholesalers come together, and there's really you create value. That house could probably be still sitting on the market.
Yeah.
And now the investor's going to go make it a nice, pretty house for an end buyer, or the retail buyer at the end. So there's a lot of
more properties in the market. That's what I feel as an agent. I did the retail side the first 5 years, and then until I'm like, there's a reason I got into the investment side, and I'm like, wow, this is my niche. This is what I love, this side of real estate, and especially because there's not a lot of properties now. Hey, we're doing the back end of the work.
Right.
Getting the properties on the market.
You're creating those opportunities for individuals, bringing in, and again, it's better for everybody else. The neighborhood, that house is no longer just sitting there vacant.
Everybody makes money. Everybody gets paid. Everybody is happy.
Yeah.
And so we're just like that matchmaker. I find properties like, oh, this will make sense. I know what kind of investor. I put myself in that side the investment hat, and
Yeah.
then I put my realtor side on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to work both sides because you know exactly what the end value is going to be. You have to know we were talking earlier, what sells in the neighborhood, what price it per square foot, everything sells for, what it has to look like. Because sometimes investors do rely on us and tell them, look, this is what you have to renovate. You have to keep the kitchen. This neighborhood calls for quartz countertops. This neighborhood calls for granite countertops, right? So those are different things that you have to be able to advise, right? Okay.
So I think what's important too in knowing that is, if you're looking to sell a house like that needs a lot of work, that's not going to be able to get top dollar, or you're looking to buy a house like that as an investor, it's important to work with an agent that knows how to wholesale or how to list, but work the investment side, because at the end of the day, there's sometimes agents that don't know that side, and those are the ones that kind of get in the way, and they lose you a sale that could have happened, right? Because they don't even present you an offer. To some of them, it's a lowball offer. They don't even come to you and present it as the seller. And for all you know, you might have taken that deal had it been an agent that knew how to work it in a different way. So I think it's important, especially with the way the market's been changing, to know both sides and work with an agent that understands it so that it'll be a smooth transaction.
Exactly. And you mentioned a couple of things, and so did you, Jenny, when you were talking about how you essentially gave them proof of why it wasn't just a lowball offer. You said
Justified it with
exactly.
facts.
You justified it because you knew exactly why this house needs to sell at this price, because of the investment that needs to be brought into it. And I think that's what Cesar was saying, is that you need knowledgeable and competent agents on both sides to be able to work it.
And a listing agent can make or break a deal. I've had listing agents get upset. They find out, and like the rebuttal, like why? Like you're still gonna make your commission. The seller is fine with it. Like we bought you a buyer. Like that's the whole point. But some agents, they don't see it that way. There's not really nothing you can do, but it's like, like, hey, I like to build a good rapport, a good working relationship with the agent that I'll be working with. But I've gotten a few hostile ones that, unfortunately, it doesn't work out.
I know this for listing agents out there listening, is that you have to remember you can't take anything personal. It is not you. It's just a numbers game, and this is what works. And you have to come to realization is that why hasn't it been sold? And the reality is that we can only control two things: is condition and price. And when neither one of us is bringing a buyer at that, then you have to make an adjustment.
Maybe there's
you have to make an adjustment.
And one thing, like you said, it's the emotion. I love that there's no emotion in this side. I understand like the seller, but the agents, sometimes you have to put those emotions aside, because we're trying to do what's best for me, for my end buyer, you for your seller. Like we're all on the same team.
We have to, as listing agents, we have to take a logical approach to this and be sure that, okay, there's reasons why, and then analyzing things. And so we could present it to our seller. Otherwise, we're doing a disservice to our seller if we keep continuing saying, well, no, it's going to sell at this price in this condition. And we're 5 months into the process when they could have easily have liquidated that asset, move on to something else, and moved on, right?
I feel like there's a fiduciary duty as an agent to your seller, and there's agents out there that put their pride above the fiduciary duty because they feel like they're losing on this negotiation process.
And it's not even about that.
Exactly.
It's not a war. Like let's come to a number and agree and let's meet in the middle. And when I approach it that way, like we're a team. Some agents, they're like, great, and I get, like, hey, we're friends, we're a team here, we're both looking for the best of both of our clients' interests, and, let's meet somewhere, let's make this happen, but, you can't win them all.
No, you can't.
You can't win them all.
You can't. Oh, that means
I think as that goes off and we kind of each do our final thoughts of the day, like Jerry Springer used to do, is I would say, I'd say that there's a big distinction, and I think it's confused out there, that the best thing for your client and the best is always the highest price. And that's not always the case. Sometimes the case is time. Sometimes it's a good deal that lets them walk away with what they would like to walk away as soon as possible. And sometimes that means taking less. So getting your client who's selling a home the highest price is not always the best thing for them. It's getting the highest price in the right amount of time. That's usually the best thing for them. And sometimes you reduce the time, or you reduce the time, but it also comes with a price reduction. So
Absolutely. And I'll add one more to that. It's also with the least amount of headaches. Is that sometimes, you can get an offer which is the highest price, but the demands during the option period are huge. And sometimes your seller is stressed out trying to meet those demands just so they can get that high price, right?
And
So there's
the end of the day, it comes down to being the lower price.
right, the lower price.
Yeah.
Or perhaps, the lower price offer was the more sure thing where it's almost a ready to go and you ease that tension and then stress from the seller. So yeah, absolutely, all those things. So Jenny, just before we go, just last question: What's one piece of advice that you would tell? You know what? And since we're talking about how the real estate investing side is more heavily towards male dominated, so what's one piece of advice that you would get to female realtors out there who are thinking about and jumping into investment?
Just do it. Just don't be scared. We're all human. Learn your products, learn your numbers, learn how to be an expert in an area that you want to work in, and just, closed mouths won't get fed. Just do it. It's better to try and fail than to not try at all and never know. And, my first wholesale deal, all I was trying to do was save the deal to make that 3%. And I ended up assigning it, and I made that 3% plus the assignment fee, which was just, proof to me that I could do it. I could do it on my own. And yeah,
perfect.
just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Nike
Don't be
might be
afraid.
onto something there,
Yeah. Know your market and go ahead and
You'll
go
never
after.
know unless you try,
Absolutely.
And if you want to learn some more, come to our classes. I'll be hosting the next investment class.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice. Do you have a date on that yet?
We do not have a date yet.
All right, but that's
TBD.
all right. So
Episode 14, you get the date.
yes, we'll bring back the date and make sure that you guys sign up and everything else. So, all right. So, with that
Thanks again
said,
for coming out, Jenny.
All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right,
Coffee
guys.
Real Estate, episode 13 out.